Okay, welcome everyone. We are still on philosophy and then the society, and then we are talking about the goal of philosophy in the society and towards our national development in Nigeria. And in the previous videos, we understood that social institutions are very important in translating values into individuals. We also got to understood the necessary requirements for the sustenance of social life, that is freedom and human dignity. And then those things are very, very necessary for social cooperation and national development. Now, we having understood those things, we agree factually that the Nigerian society is not so, because firstly those social institutions that are meant to inculcate values are very, very weak. They are not fulfilling their potentials, and also the conditions of human dignity in fostering social cooperation also is lacking. There's no sense of decency among individuals. There's no sense of trust. There's no sense of love. There's no sense of mutual cooperation in Nigeria. So these are major problems facing our national development. There also the problem of freedom, that is people aren't in an environment that they can flourish, that they can reach their full potential. And what is more painful in this aspect is the fact that the government is not providing lasting solutions to all this problem. They're only concerned about temporary solutions to all this problem that will take temporary solutions that with low economic or narrow economic focus. And an example of this is when there is corruption, maybe in the security department. The government might just bring about a program to end SARS, and not to make sure that there's an overall, that is, there's a thorough cleansing of the security uh, units in the country. So the governments are neglecting the important issue on how to build a democratic and effective state. And a democratic and an effective state is where everyone feel equal, everyone is fully focused, and they participate in the country, and then there will be results. Now, in a country like Nigeria, this is the kind of situation that we need, because we actually have different diverse people. But when there is democracy, that is, everyone is involved, and not just a particular set of people, then everyone will have this pride that actually we are one Nigeria. Okay, so uh, the point here now is that the problem that we have now in Nigeria is the problem of what social coordination. That is the problem of putting together everything that is necessary for social growth, that is, and for our national development. Now, this can only happen when our social institutions are strengthened, in order for them to entrench those values that are necessary for social order to be established in the country. Now, the problem of social condition shouldn't be far-fetched. We know it. We know that this is our problem. Now, we should be focused on how we can, help to eradicate the lapses in this situation, and bringing about a society that is well coordinated. Now, this is where philosophy comes in. We want to examine the role that philosophy could play in ensuring Nigeria has a social ambience required for national development. So the next part we're talking about is how philosophy plays a part in changing this situation we find ourselves in. Okay, now we understand philosophy to be concerned about critical and reflective thinking. that is looking into the ideas that we live by, and being self-critical about things, and not trying to be biased on issues. So now from this definition of the tax of philosophy, we should we can deduce that it is very, very necessary for every country that is concerned about national development. For today's world requires intellectual orientation. That is, we should be sound intellectually, and let me use the word of Kwasi Wirendu. Kwasi Wirendu examines the intellectual foundation of our life using the best available modes of knowledge for human well-being. That is, intellectual sagacity is necessary. It is the building block of uh, ensuring that a society is livable. Now, we cannot deny the role in which philosophy, in which intellectual soundness has played in the world today. Now, imagine a world where there is no idea about justice. Imagine a world where we do not know the what values are. Imagine a world where we are just stagnant. We don't question things. That's what is not going to remain the same. Now, philosophy has played a major role in the world at large, uh, seeking to provide answers to the problems in which humans face in the society. Now, to us here in Nigeria, are we self-critical? Are we reflecting intellectual sagacity? I'm not sure, because looking at our private and our social life, we will agree that individuals are only concerned and always praise themselves when things go well. Now, when you achieve something, you're always quick to praise yourself, and as usual, you will say, it's the grace of God. That is the routine. But when things does not go well for us in the society, we are always quick either to blame God or to blame other things or individuals that are not ourselves. So that is one of the major problem. You see, anyone who wants to succeed must be self-critical. You must know where you are lacking, and you must know where you can make corrections. And this also applies to us as a society. Now, we shouldn't always give praises to ourselves alone when things are working, and be ready to extend the blame when things are not working. And also the idea that this act of not being self-critical has made us to be limited and unproductive as individuals. Now, this is in the sense that if you are seeking to get something, you have substituted your actual effort with prayer. Now, this is common in Nigeria. Now, we are not saying that we shouldn't be spiritual, we shouldn't be religious, but there's the role in which you have to play. Now, prayer is now a complement and not shouldn't be a substitute to what you seek to achieve. But no, this is not the case in the Nigeria society. Now, another uh, problem of this is that instead of now being express ourselves and seeking for self actualizations as individuals in the society, we are now always looking for shortcuts shortcuts to everything, instead of facing the fact that there are challenges in which we have to face as individuals. We are now looking for what? For shortcuts. Now, if when it comes to salvation, we want to simply proclaim and profess it, not knowing that salvation also requires work. When it requires to get money, we are ready to do any means in order to make sure we get those money. When it comes to educational qualification, maybe we are ready to involve in malpractice to get what you want. This is evident in WAEC and so on. When it comes to getting loyalty and respect, we seek to command rather than earn it. Now, this mentality is very very bad, and it is one of the cause of our underdevelopment. Now, philosophy will help us to be self-critical, will help us to be intellectually sound, will help us to know what ought to be, because when we question things, we get to know the truth. Now, this is why individuals, we have to begin to cultivate the attitude of critical and reflective thinking about ourselves and the things we do or we shouldn't do. And when we do this, our society will definitely improve. Now, we can also note that this problem of our mentality is due to the social environment in which we find ourselves in, and truthfully our social environment isn't helping us. It is not helping that philosophical spirit, that philosophical mind. When you try to question things, they try to say, what are you saying? You know, our society is very conservative, it is dogmatic and authoritarian. Those are the top feed that they are right, you know, and when they are not right, they still assume that they are right. Now, you hear statements like, how dare you say an adult is lying? You know, those things are one of our problem in this society, and as we grow, we accept those things as values, and although they are actually wrong. Now, the values that is celebrated in Nigeria society is that of conformity, that of obedience and loyalty. That is what the people expect you to do. And when you try to question this, that obedience to what exactly? Is it obedience to irrationality? Is it obedience to not to being dogmatic? Is it obedience to authoritarianism? They won't be able to give you a clear answer to this. Now, so that is why philosophy isn't thriving. Now, we need to change this mentality, to change this orientation about ourselves. And this problem also is that the government also are failed in terms of reflective thinking, in the aspect of the coordination of our public affairs, which the government is essentially about. We have not succeeded in creating an enabling environment for critical and reflective thinking. Now, without this, there is no way that the society will thrive, because every social institutions, like politics, like administrations, like the economy and culture, all of them are necessary for national development. And until there's critical and reflective thinking in this aspect, there won't be development. And that is why it is not surprising that our society is not the society that we hope for. It is an hopeless one. It is like that in which Thomas Hobbes see as the state of nature, where everything is chaotic, there is no unity, and there's no peace. Now, uh, we won't want to imagine a world without the philosophic spirit. Now, because a world without the philosophic spirit would be a world where there's no enlightenment or development in terms of intellect or exposure. That is that word without the philosophic spirit. Now, that kind of word is like that Thomas Hobbes state of nature. Now, when in that state of nature that is brutish, that is nasty, that is short, when people realize that, see, this is our problem. There is no peace, there is no unity, there is no social coordination. Now, let us establish a civil society. You know, that is how philosophy is very very important to social coordination and national development. Okay. Now, having understood this problem and the importance of philosophy, we can now say that there is a need for a drastic change in our society. a drastic and a very urgent one. Now, this can be done through reflective and critical thinking. And then when we are on the part of this, we are also on the part of freedom and development in the country. Now, it should be noted that criticism is not enough. Philosophy has to do with the criticism and rational inquiry of the ideas that we live by. Now, criticism is not enough for reconstructing the uh, society. Now, aside criticism, there has to be significant, and they have to be effective. Now, what I'm saying is that it's not okay for us to talk and talk and talk. It is important for us to see results in those criticisms. So, and that is has to do with the reconstruction of ideas, and this is where philosophy becomes important. That is, when we reconstruct the values and ideas that we live by, then we can say that, yeah, we are on the path of freedom and development. Now, the first thing to see to now is establishing principles that can serve as a conduct to individual life and social actions. That is, there has to be in place principles that will guide us, that will guide our social actions, that will guide our individual actions. Now, let's use the statement of R.O.H. Tony, in which where it said that an appeal to principles is the condition for any considerable construction of society, because social institutions are the visible expression of the scale of moral values. That is, it is social institution that inculcates these values, and these values are what rules the mind of the individual. Now, it is impossible to alter these institutions without altering the values. So now, values has to do with principles and the standards that are fundamental to a society or to an individual. Now, these principles has to be there has to be reconstruction in a way that it will suit the situation that we are facing here in Nigeria. Now, this should be identified by the philosophers in the society. But the problem now is that our contemporary philosophers in Nigeria, they are only concerned about a career in philosophy. They are not concerned about what how their philosophies can actually impact the society. In fact, we cannot say that they are original. They are only concerned about those ideas, those things that those thoughts and belief, and more of elevating their status. No, this is not how it should be. If we look at the period of Socrates and Plato, they were not concerned about self-edification. No, they were concerned about professing solutions that will be of of benefits to their immediate environment. This is what our philosophers should be concerned with. But no, this is not the case. Now, they are only concerned about their own personal edification. Now, the typical Nigerian attitude of blaming other persons, especially when you know that you are at fault, but you do not blame yourself. You do not admit that you have some misconceptions and miscalculations that led to the your failure. Now, this is one of the problem that we face. Not only to This is not only to both the illiterate, but also to the literate and philosophers. Now, there is always that complaint also that they are not the available materials for our growth are not available, and that is why we are regressing in the society. Now, they might also blame the lack of philosophical education as part of the factors responsible for low level of philosophy consciousness in the society. Now, this shouldn't be an excuse. Those are not excuse to the problems that we are facing now. Although they are not irrelevant to the problems that we have, but as philosophers we should exhibit what a great desire to know. Now, when we call ourselves philosophers, is our philosophy, is it reflecting on the society? Now let's take Wole Soyinka as an example. We can agree that yes, is a literary act, but also is a philosopher. He has come up with various ideas. Now these ideas that Wole Soyinka has come out with, are they being imbibed by people in the society? Now there's also the question of how creative or original are we in the development of ideas that we bring about solutions to the problems that we are facing, both to us as individuals, as a society, as a Nigerian society, and also to the external world, to the universal world. Now, what caution do we also exercise in borrowing ideas from other culture? Because that is one of our problem. We are always say this is how it is done in that place. Let us also be doing it this way. Yeah, we have not been able to understand that this is Africa, and we can't be the same with those people. So what caution do we exercise in borrowing ideas from other cultures, or even selling their ideas to we to the people? Now, uh, so there is no responsibility in the part of philosophers. It's only ideas. Now, if you study the post Aristotelian philosophy, you agree that the people, when they were in chaos, when there was instability, they had to do away with so many theoretical philosophies, but we're concerned about the practical aspect of life. Now, how can those philosophies can help them to live a better life? Now, this is the kind of attitude that we are supposed to imbibe. Now, it would be impossible to affect positively the lives of the real people in the society if we do not reflect on ourselves. Now, like the manner of Socrates. Okay, so in other words, if Nigeria's philosophers are actually interested in bringing the society back to life, then they have to embark on the kind of self-examination that will enable us to have knowledge about ourselves, about our cultural identity, about our freedom, about our human dignity. Now, okay, so when we have knowledge about ourselves, we become more focused and more enriched to live a fruitful and a professional life as philosophers. That is when your philosophy can impact, when your philosophy has results, then you can now say to yourself that you have definitely achieved in the professional life, instead of just building ideas and building ideas. Okay, so I think with this we can now understand the role in which philosophy has to play in the society. Now, uh, okay, yeah. So that is that on that. We should remember that there is nobody that is going to come and help us aside from ourselves. The philosophers from the Western world will not come and provide solutions to a strange land. It is we as philosophers in this country that can, play our parts, and that is if we are actually allowed. But definitely we are allowed. We just have to recognize the fact that we have a role to play in the national development of the country. Thank you so much for listening through.